So what if I told you that the human brain processes a compliment in like about 3 seconds, but an insult that can literally take up residence in your head for days?
Oh, easily. Sometimes years, honestly.
Right. I mean, you know that feeling. You get, say, 10 pieces of glowing feedback on a project, and your mind just obsessively loops the one, slightly critical comment someone made in passing.
Yeah, it's a completely universal experience. We're wired for it.
We really are. And today we are unpacking an audio leak from a massively high-octane sales marathon to learn exactly how modern algorithms exploit that biological flaw, and more importantly, how to short-circuit it. So welcome to the deep dive.
Thank you. We have a truly fascinating mission today, I think. We're analyzing an internal leadership and strategy recording from Indus Viva.
Which is a major Indian direct selling network, right?
Exactly. And we really need to set the acoustic stage for you here because this isn't some sterile corporate webinar where people are just half asleep on mute.
Oh, not at all. It is the exact opposite. I mean, they call this a Webathon, an online marathon training session.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the source material, you are hit with a literal wall of energy.
A wall of energy is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's packed with thousands of participants, these booming greetings, really aggressive talk about, 5 core Lamborghinis, and just this intense, overwhelming momentum.
Right. It's a completely different frequency than most of us are used to. And it would be very easy to look at the surface level flash of it and dismiss it as just, another marketing rally.
Which a lot of people probably do.
Absolutely. But if you strip away the industry-specific jargon, what you find underneath is really a masterclass in raw, unfiltered behavioral economics.
Oh, totally.
These leaders are dealing with human nature at its most vulnerable and reactive state.
Which means the lessons here apply to, well, literally anyone trying to build something from scratch.
Precisely.
So whether you are launching a tech startup, leading a new creative team, or just trying to survive your own freelance hustle, we're going to extract the underlying psychology here.
And we're getting into some deep stuff, too. The trap of easy money, the awkward reality of outgrowing the people who trained you.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, and how to psychologically survive massive, soul-crushing team turnover. The stakes in this environment are just incredibly high because the feedback loop is instantaneous.
Right, because in a traditional job, you might hide behind a salary for a year before anyone realizes your strategy is failing.
Exactly. But in this entrepreneurial ecosystem, if your understanding of human psychology is flawed, you fail today.
Wow. Okay, so let's start with the very first psychological hurdle. And think about the last time you booked a hotel or, I don't know, bought something on Amazon.
Well, I already know where this is going.
Right. You probably ignored 30 pristine 5-star reviews because one anonymous guy complained about the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the one bad review always wins.
It always wins. We are all running that same evolutionary software. And in the audio, a participant from Guwahati brings up this exact nightmare scenario.
Yeah, she wants to know how to handle a prospect who hears a great pitch, immediately pulls out their phone to search the internet, and instantly finds articles calling the whole industry a scam.
I mean, it is the ultimate modern barrier to entry.
It really is. You can deliver a flawless, life-changing presentation, and Google's search algorithm undoes all your credibility in like 4 seconds.
Right, and if I'm facing that kind of skepticism, my immediate instinct is to just flood the prospect with positive testimonials.
Which makes sense, logically.
Yeah, I'd want to bring in 5 successful people to talk about how great the company is, basically trying to drown out the bad data with an overwhelming amount of good data.
You would assume that works. But fighting emotion with positive emotion actually backfires entirely here,
Really? Why?
because it misreads how our biological hardware operates. The lead speaker in the audio gives this brilliant breakdown of evolutionary psychology.
Okay, let's hear it.
He says your brain wasn't designed to make you wealthy. And it certainly wasn't designed to make you happy. Its singular overriding function is survival. So it actively penalizes complacency.
Ah, because in a hunter-gatherer environment, assuming you are safe gets you killed.
Precisely. The brain doesn't just question safety. It actively looks for the catch. If someone walks up to you and just gives you an unprompted compliment,
Your guard goes up immediately.
right, you think, what is their angle? Are they trying to manipulate me?
Yeah, exactly.
But if someone whispers a negative rumor about you or insults you, the brain bypasses all of its analytical firewalls. It internalizes the negativity instantly as a necessary threat assessment data point.
Wow. And the speaker in the audio uses the term masala to describe this, right? which translates to spice.
Yes, masala, and it's such a perfect metaphor. Media channels and, by extension, internet algorithms are built entirely around exploiting this biological vulnerability. They add masala to the news.
They're spicing it up to get clicks?
Exactly. They feed the brain's insatiable craving for urgent, negative information. Because a perceived threat is the only thing guaranteed to capture and hold human attention.
Right, so if a company has a flawless 10-year track record, the brain just files it as non-essential information.
Yep, it's boring to the brain. But one spicy, unverified negative claim, the amygdala locks on instantly.
Okay, so knowing that this entire system is rigged against you, how do the leaders advise handling it?
They advise a complete pivot away from emotional persuasion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You don't argue with a prospect whose brain is currently intoxicated by masala. You neutralize the spice with targeted, sterile authority.
Sterile authority. I like that phrase. So they tailor the counter-evidence to the specific identity of the skeptic.
Exactly. It's a very tactical deployment of evidence. For example, if your prospect is a lawyer who is suddenly skeptical about the legality of the direct selling structure because of some blog post.
You don't give them a motivational speech.
Right. You hand them high court orders. You give them official, dense legal documentation in their own language.
You essentially overwhelm their analytical brain with unquestionable authority.
Yes.
But wait, what about the prospect who isn't a lawyer? Because the audio mentions a tech-savvy younger prospect who just found a random, highly edited negative YouTube video. I mean, you can't hand a 22-year-old a stack of court documents.
No, you can't. And this is where the strategy adapts so beautifully to the modern era. The advice for the younger digital native prospect is to use Neutralizer, specifically ChatGPT.
Oh, that is wild.
The speaker suggests having the prospect sit down and ask ChatGPT objective questions about the viability and legality of the network marketing industry.
That is so clever because ChatGPT doesn't have an emotional cadence. It just, outputs text.
That is exactly the point. By using an AI, you remove the human element of persuasion. AI is perceived by the public as a cold, unemotional arbiter of vast amounts of data. It completely bypasses the masala.
Right. It short-circuits the brain's craving for drama because the AI isn't trying to sell them anything. It's just presenting an aggregate of global data.
Precisely. Or if the prospect responds to social hierarchy, the speaker points to a recent business conclave in Guwahati that was attended by an IAS officer.
Which is a highly respected government official.
Right. So you provide the exact flavor of sterile proof required to bypass their amygdala.
Okay, so you've successfully neutralized the brain's negativity bias, you've provided your objective data, and against all the internet's odds, you make a sale.
A massive win.
Right. You have a new representative on your team. You'd think that is the ultimate finish line. But ironically, crossing that initial finish line triggers an entirely new, incredibly dangerous psychological trap.
Yes. The audio refers to this as the doctor trap. And it is a fascinating look at how our own ego can completely sabotage our long-term potential.
So Indus Viva sells wellness products, right? Things with names like iPulse and iCharge.
Correct.
And the speaker notes that after new representatives attend a training and hear medical experts break down the cellular benefits of these ingredients, something actually shifts in their identity.
Yeah, they mentally put on a white coat.
Exactly. They start viewing themselves as like the neighborhood health ministry running around trying to diagnose and cure everyone's ailments.
It is the ultimate illusion of productivity. We all know the basics of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, right?
Yeah. The difference between being an S, which is self-employed, and a B, which is a business owner.
Right. But what Kiyosaki's framework often glosses over, and what this audio nails perfectly, is how the S quadrant disguises itself as a virtue.
Oh, say more about that.
The S quadrant uses the ego of being an expert, a healer, a consultant, the person with all the answers, to blind you to the fact that you are just trading your hours for a very small amount of money.
Ah, okay, let's use the classic bucket versus pipeline analogy here because it fits so perfectly.
It really does.
If you go out and sell a single bottle of this wellness product to a sick neighbor, you make a quick 500 rupee profit. That is carrying a bucket of water.
And the dopamine hit from that 500 rupees is intoxicating. You did a good deed, you applied your new medical knowledge, and you got paid instantly.
But the speaker is ruthless about this. He literally describes that 500 rupee profit as a snare.
Yes, a dangerous snare.
Because it feels like monumental success, but it actually makes you a lifelong slave to the daily hustle. Because think about it. If you get sick, or you want to take a vacation, or you simply just run out of neighbors to cure...
If the water stops.
The water stops. You are trapped carrying buckets forever.
The only way to move into the B quadrant, to achieve actual time and financial freedom, is to spend your time building a pipeline.
And in this ecosystem, that means recruiting and building a vast network of independent operators.
Exactly. The speaker makes a very blunt economic argument. He says if you build a pipeline, the product sales will naturally flow through it in massive volumes.
Right.
But if you spend all your time playing doctor and carrying individual buckets, you will physically never have the bandwidth to build the system.
He actually calls out people who have been in the company for 10 years and haven't advanced, specifically because they are addicted to the doctor trap.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality check.
They are addicted to being the smartest person in the room, diagnosing their clients, rather than doing the messy, difficult work of building an infrastructure.
It requires immense psychological discipline to walk away from the immediate gratification of a small, ego-driven cash sale. Right?
Yeah.
You have to do it in order to focus on the delayed, abstract reward of system building. You have to willingly choose to feel less important today so you can be free tomorrow.
That is such a good way to phrase it. Okay, so let's say you have that discipline. You resist the ego trip.
Okay.
You hang up the imaginary white coat and you dedicate yourself entirely to building the network.
You're all in?
Right. But then you immediately run into the structural reality of this industry, which the audio calls unity and diversity.
Yeah.
Because there are absolutely no educational or socioeconomic barriers to entry here.
It is a true melting pot.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people with master's degrees working directly alongside high school dropouts. You have engineers, homemakers, farmers, all from different states speaking entirely different languages.
And the speaker notes that the singular unifying factor among all these wildly different demographics is a burning, desperate desire to escape the middle class.
That's the common denominator.
But because everyone's background is so different, the training burden on the leadership is astronomical.
Oh, massive.
Which leads to a highly sensitive question from the audience. What happens when the mentor, the person who recruited you into this business, lacks the ambition or the skill to actually lead this diverse group?
It is a critical failure point for many entrepreneurs. You join a system relying on your sponsor's guidance, but you quickly realize their horizon is much closer than yours.
Right. And the speaker delivers a piece of advice here that made me genuinely pause because it goes against almost everything we are taught about institutional loyalty.
He does not hold back.
No. He states very simply, entrepreneurship is ownership. He tells the crowd that your mentor might only have a 30-milliliter vision for their life.
A 30-milliliter vision.
Yeah. They might be perfectly content making a tiny fraction of extra income just to pay a few bills. But if you try to cram your massive, gallon-sized dreams into their 30-milliliter mindset, you will completely suffocate your own potential.
The visual he uses is really striking. He says if your senior is happy riding a bicycle, you cannot let their complacency stop you from buying a car.
Okay, I have to challenge this concept just a bit.
Sure.
If you are listening to this and you work in any sort of traditional corporate structure or even a standard agency, bypassing the person who hired you is career suicide.
Oh, absolutely.
It's seen as intensely disloyal. You don't just leapfrog your manager without creating enemies and destroying your own reputation in the process.
In a traditional corporate hierarchy, your pushback is completely accurate.
Right.
And that is because corporate structures are zero-sum games.
Meaning there's only one winner.
Right. There's only one corner office.
Yeah.
There's only one promotion budget. If you win, your boss loses. But an entrepreneurial network is a non-zero-sum ecosystem. The rules of gravity are just different.
Because your success actually benefits the people above you, even if you outpace them.
Exactly. Dependency is the enemy of scale in a network. And to be clear, the speaker isn't advocating for mutiny.
Right. He's not saying be a jerk about it.
No, he explicitly says you should thank the person who introduced you to the opportunity. You absorb their wisdom for the first few months, but then you must take total ownership.
Yeah, the audio highlights a real leader named Haru Prasad, who achieved the rank of Executive White Diamond, specifically because he stopped waiting for his sponsor's permission to run fast.
If he had stayed loyal to his sponsor's bicycle speed, he never would have reached his own finish line. You have to become the CEO of your own effort.
You aim to become your mentor's strength rather than remaining their dependent junior. You take the wheel.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the timeline we've built here. You've navigated the internet's masala by using sterile authority.
Check.
You've dodged the ego-driven doctor trap and focused on the pipeline. You've broken free of your mentor's 30-milliliter vision and taken total ownership of your team. You are moving fast.
You're doing everything right.
And then You hit the wall that breaks almost every entrepreneur, regardless of their industry.
You lose your team.
Massive, devastating attrition.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah, a participant named Lilu Ram asks a question that you can tell just comes from a place of deep frustration. He says, we work so hard to get people to commit. We train them, we bring them into the fold.
And then times get a little tough, and they just quit.
Exactly.
It is the most painful reality of leadership. You pour your energy, your time, and your emotional bandwidth into developing someone, and they just walk out the door.
Yeah.
The speaker poses a brutal hypothetical to the crowd. He says, imagine you pour your heart into training 10 people to become top-tier stars in your organization. And then through a shift in the market or personal reasons, all 10 of them quit on the exact same day.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
You were standing there, looking at an empty room, seemingly back at absolute zero.
But the speaker's response is one of the most profound examples of cognitive reframing I have ever heard.
It really changes the whole paradigm.
He argues that you are not back at zero. He says, yes, the 10 individuals are gone, but you now permanently possess the operational experience of how to build 10 stars.
Exactly. The person you were before you built that team had no idea how to lead. The person you are now, standing alone in that empty room, possesses the exact, tested blueprint for success. He tells the audience, an experience is a gold coin.
I love that. You haven't lost your assets. Your assets have just been internalized. It's exactly like playing a role-playing video game.
Oh, the XP analogy. Let's hear it.
Yeah. You might face a massive boss battle and get completely wiped out. You lose your armor, your gold, your entire party is defeated. But your character keeps all the XP, the experience points you gained during that attempt.
You level up permanently.
Yes. When you restart the level, you are literally a stronger, higher-level player. You keep the XP.
It is a brilliant analogy. You keep the XP. But the audio actually takes this a step further into the realm of cultural psychology.
Okay.
To help his team manage the emotional devastation of this turnover, the speaker shares a philosophy from a leader in Assam utilizing a cultural ritual involving the gamoka and the samosa.
Right, so the gamoka is a traditional woven cloth from Assam, used as a symbol of immense respect and welcome.
Yes. When a new person joins your team, you welcome them with honor. You give them the gamoka. You celebrate their arrival.
Makes sense.
But when that inevitable moment comes and someone decides they want to quit the business, you don't argue with them. You don't try to manipulate them into staying, and you certainly don't get angry.
Which is hard to do.
Very hard.
Yeah.
But instead, you give them a samosa, a tasty snack, and you send them off happily. Gamoka for coming, samosa for leaving.
Wait, so literally, why does a ritual like that work so well psychologically? Just giving them a snack?
Because human beings require physical rituals to process emotional transitions.
Ah.
By standardizing the exit process, by literally making it a pleasant ritual of eating a snack together, you remove the sting of personal rejection.
That's fascinating.
The speaker frames this through the lens of Indian philosophy, advising his leaders to be karma yogis.
A karma yogi?
Right. A karma yogi is someone who focuses entirely on the execution of their daily duties and completely detaches from the fruits of their labor.
So you do the work of building the team simply because that is the work required. Whether a specific individual stays or leaves is entirely out of your control.
You focus on the action, not the outcome.
And he adds a perspective that completely changes how you view a resignation letter. He suggests that sometimes people are removed from your path because they simply don't have the lung capacity for the altitude you are climbing to.
Yes, the mountain climbing metaphor.
Right. You are heading to the peak of the mountain, and they only packed enough oxygen for the foothills. If you convince them to stay, they will only slow you down and pull you back to their level.
It's dangerous to keep them.
Exactly. Their departure isn't a failure of your leadership. It is a necessary shedding of weight so you can continue to ascend.
It immunizes the entrepreneur against the emotional burnout that destroys most businesses.
It really does.
If every loss is just an acquisition of a gold coin and every exit is just a samosa, you become psychologically unstoppable.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. I mean, we started by unpacking how to combat the amygdala's craving for media masala by deploying sterile, objective proof.
Right, using high court orders or leveraging AI to neutralize the negativity bias.
Then we explored the subtle dangers of the doctor trap and why trading the exponential pipeline of the B quadrant for the ego-driven 500 rupee bucket of the S quadrant is just a dead end.
And we looked at the necessity of entrepreneurial ownership, the willingness to outgrow a mentor's 30-milliliter vision so you can finally get behind the wheel of your own potential.
And finally, we just broke down the incredible psychological resilience of the Gamocha and Samosa mindset, turning the agonizing pain of team attrition into a permanent collection of experience points.
It is a completely different way of viewing friction.
It is.
And I actually want to leave you with a completely different angle to consider as we wrap this up.
Okay, lay it on me.
We've talked extensively about how to survive the pain of your team quitting. But let's invert that thought. If every failure is truly just an experience point you acquire, and the samosa phase of someone leaving is actually a necessary shedding of dead weight,
Yeah.
what happens if you actively engineer your environment to make people quit faster?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. If you strip away the fear of turnover, could you build a system that intentionally filters out the uncommitted on day one rather than dragging them along for 6 months?
That's a huge mindset shift.
Are you currently clinging to a problematic client, a toxic employee, or a stagnant project just because you are terrified of the samosa phase?
Wow.
What if the fastest way to build your pipeline is to actually encourage the wrong people to leave early so you can acquire your gold coins and get back to finding your true stars?
That is a brilliant provocation. Are you delaying your own progress just to avoid a goodbye? Because the true value of any massive endeavor isn't the immediate profit or avoiding the discomfort of someone leaving.
Right.
It is the resilience and the operational blueprint you build in the process. The experience points are yours to keep permanently.
No one can ever take the XP away from you.
So the next time you feel like you've stumbled into a room that is vibrating at an entirely different, terrifying frequency, don't back out. Step into it. The energy might be completely disorienting, but that is exactly what it feels like right before you level up. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next deep dive.